You could also give me the permission to share my
Farting?
sound. No farting, I promise.
Okay.
Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast, a show with meaningful conversations in English with non-native speakers. My name is Jędrek.
My name is Masha.
And we are two teachers who...
Oh, not English teachers. We are two teachers who can teach.
Did I drop that?
You did. Is it Freudian slip? That's what you're thinking about?
Maybe.
Okay, we're two English teachers who can teach anywhere. Is that right? Would you be able to teach on a desert island? Well,
from
if
a
there
desert
was
island
somebody
or on
to
a
teach.
desert island? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So all you need is a student.
Yes, all I need is a student, is another brain in front of me. And I'm trying to, establish some sort of a connection and parse the energy.
Okay.
Yes, Masha, but I understand what you wanted to say by that is that we are not using any materials. I mean, like,
not using any
books.
materials, and my context is a little bit different. Sometimes I don't have even electricity. And I'm thinking, that, well, it started, I was thinking that right now I think I could survive in the wilderness. The day before yesterday, I learned how to split wood. I'm not very good at it yet, but I think I'm improving. So basically, I think I could survive in the wilderness and teach in the wilderness if there is somebody who is willing to learn.
Yeah, except that
this
in
is how it
conditions
came
like
about.
in conditions like that, I don't know what's the need for education. That is, I'm speaking about some extreme conditions, but
there is
yes,
always
you're
a
right.
need for education.
Always?
Yeah, for example, my son taught me how to ride a bike, because right now I have to go shopping 1 hour by bike, and you get tired quickly. And usually I saw cycling as an form of workout. So it was my goal to burn, to just as many calories as possible. But right now, when it's basically a means to get somewhere, you need to be doing it efficiently. And he taught me how to do it efficiently. So it's education.
Share.
He taught me how to split wood. It's education.
What about the cycling? How do you save energy? I mean,
well, he says, of course, I'm trying to. I start kind of, my pace is very, very moderate. And I think that right now I will be able to cycle a long way. And he says, no, you need to reach certain speed. Yes, at the beginning you will maybe spend more energy, but then it's much more efficient just to maintain this speed. Once you reach it, you will not spend so much energy if you go, back and forth.
And do you have any computer or any device showing you the speed that you ride with?
This is just the feeling.
But I was wondering whether it's closer to 20 or closer to, I don't know, 15 kilometers per hour.
I think it will be, I think it's not the number, it's your feeling, it's individual. Because of course he's obviously stronger and more resilient than I am. So for us, it's a different speed, but it's still your optimum where you maintain good speed, not not spending.
This is very interesting. I mean, cycling, especially that it should also depend on the terrain. I read a blog post by David from Substack. I'm afraid to pronounce his surname, and he also mentioned in one of his posts that as he got older, he learned a lot about cycling. He thought that cycling is an easy thing, right? I mean, you just pedal the pedals, right? Yeah, but apparently it's not. Apparently there is a lot about saving energy, and the whole thing about keeping the pace. But I wonder, how do you approach, for example, the hills or going downhill? Should you like, I don't know, do something with it? Is there any right way to approach that? And this is
This is
interesting,
the next step. My terrain is
this is the next
pretty
step, yeah.
even,
Pretty flat. All right.
pretty flat, yeah. So,
all right.
But of course there are the road there, for example, a lot of it is up. Well, I wouldn't say up the hill, but it's not really a hill, but it's more difficult. But going back, it's easier. But I'm telling you, it's just I never saw it. I never had to do it. I never had to do it, I chose to cycle because I wanted to exercise, and I never cared about saving energy. I was interested in spending as much energy as possible, in as little time as possible. So I never switched gears. My husband was always, why are you suffering? And I was like, because this is why I'm here. I want to suffer. What's the point of making it easy? But right now, and I always forgot, what it is, where you need to, this lever.
You're right, Masha. It's another level of this conversation is the gears policy. I mean,
gears.
How should you adapt, the gears to the terrain and to the situation?
And I never could never remember which when you want to go easier or when you want to make it easier or harder, which gear you. And now I have this. Okay, I'm going. And now I'm going up.
A woman behind the wheel.
So I need to turn it. I need to push it up.
Bar. All right.
I'm going down. I use this down lever. Yeah, it works. That's how I remember.
Okay, great. Yeah, because basically, if you
if I never used it, then I never. Of course, I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
and now I remember because
I'm switching gears. I'm switching gears like crazy. I mean, it's like every few seconds, or I don't know what, depending on what's happening. Especially that my way to work is up the hill, but it's not up the hill constantly. It's like a little bit up, then down, then up, down, and up. So in my case, the gear policy is at work. Seriously at work.
Maybe I'm a little bit reluctant, and this again is mainly a womanly thing, because the sound, the screeching sound it makes, it terrifies me. What if the chain? Because once I was alone last week, I went there on my own, and I don't even know how to describe it. This chain, yeah.
Oh
my God, it's like the major. Okay, yeah, for you, but for me, it's a major disaster. I was just looking at it, and I know that it's so dirty, covered in this oil, and my hands. And I saw a man passing by, and he was pushing a bike. He was with his son, and I was like, excuse me, I think I have a problem with my chain. How? And of course, he didn't do it for me. And I didn't ask him to do it. I asked, how should I? And he says, it's very easy. There is this, I don't remember even in Ukrainian how this part is called. You just need to loosen it a little bit, and then you put it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty intuitive.
That is
my chain. I know.
Stop insulting me. It's been 5 minutes and you've already.
sorry for that. But no, it's for someone whose chain is falling off quite often.
Of course, I would have figured it out if there was nobody around. I would have figured it out on my own. It's pretty easy and intuitive. You're right, but the first thing is like, oh my God, my bike is broken.
Yeah. Well. I should refer all our listeners to our conversation with Sophie Bailey, if you remember. And the question is a bicycle a machine? That's the question. Apparently it is, Masha, because the mechanism is quite complex. It's like chains, gears, and stuff like that. So if that wasn't a machine, then it would be probably much easier to repair, right? Well, it actually is easy.
Well, I didn't have to repair it. I understand that it was not even a breakdown. It's just something that probably happens from time to time. But if it was something more serious, I wouldn't probably be able to fix it. Maybe I should,
all right,
study the machine I'm using.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just pay attention a little bit. All right, it's fascinating that we always start with two English teachers who, and then we end up discussing some random stuff like cycling, changing gears and so on.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, but it's
Splitting
true
wood.
that we could, you and I, we could teach in the wilderness, meaning that we don't need, well, with energy, this is quite complex because I'm mostly online now. So yeah, but speaking about my skills as a teacher, right? Yeah, I could definitely do it without energy, without electricity, for sure. And I don't need any books, and I don't need any materials, exercises, whatever else teachers are using. Videos, input.
But to be honest, I was thinking about this teaching. What is it called now? Face to face, offline, and I would feel a little bit awkward. It would feel awkward at the beginning to me. You have another human being right in front of you. You can, I don't know, touch, or I wouldn't touch a person, but it feels very, very
Masha, yeah, you have grown wild,
alien.
I guess,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's been
yeah.
a long time since you had those face-to-face classes, right?
Like, I don't even remember.
It's pre-COVID, I guess, or yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking, because there is no electricity. And when I'm in Kiev, I know that one student, she lives, I can see her building out of my window, that she told me. And if there is no power, because we are kind of in the same cluster, if I don't have power, she also doesn't have the power. So we could just meet.
Yes.
It occurred to me, and I okay, another. Truth or dare. I dare you dared me, and I look very stupid today. I don't know how to switch gears properly, how to fix the chain. Meeting another person. Ooh. So, okay.
Yeah, but
Well,
I'm lucky to be teaching several hours per week
yeah, I know.
physically, let's say, meeting people
Does it
here.
feel different?
It does a bit different, but to be honest, it's the same me. I don't feel any change of personality or anything. But the fact that we are there together, uh, it's yeah, it is different, and it is better, I must say. It is better. I mean, um, however, it's very hard to put the finger on it. Like, what's exactly better? I mean, exactly what we are not touching each other. We are not really celebrating. I don't know, tea drinking or something. Of course, I may make tea for my students or just water, but I don't think this is the thing that we share, and so on. But there's a different dynamic. There is something different. I think I know. I perhaps I know. It is the attention that the student receives. It is 100% of your attention
And pace.
because
Because sometimes people
what
can
do you
get
mean by pace?
distracted they can answer some messages while they're.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, yeah, exactly, it works both ways. However, some students do receive SMSs during classes, and so on. It's distracting for sure. But on my side, because when I'm online, I type. I'm producing usually a Word document,
Yeah, and I
where
share my
I keep
screen
the.
and
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of I don't think my attention is 100% on the student. It's maybe 90%.
and when it's
10% goes to this kind of digital management.
but you have paper and pen probably when you're having,
Also,
so
yeah,
you're
yeah,
writing.
you're right. Well, in that case,
Okay.
I know, yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard. I mean, we spent quite a long time, I think, also on this podcast, trying to figure out the difference between this, online, offline teaching. I think offline is there is something to it, but it's hard for me to find, the difference. Especially that my mode of teaching is pretty much the same. It's just, asking questions, engaging in a conversation, um, you know, um, co constructing the meaning and so on. It's like, it's like a work of two minds, two or more. But yeah, the physical classes are, yeah, don't be afraid of that, Masha. If an opportunity appears, just grab it. You'll see that it's liberating. It's kind of like, wow, this is the way it should be, perhaps. But online, once again, I'll repeat. I moved online long time ago in 2017, I think, just when I moved here, and I reimagined myself in the online, and I was a staunch. What is the antonym to supporter? I was against, right? I was I was a staunch. Yeah, great. I was a staunch opponent of online teaching, but then I moved online, and I think it's great too. But yes. All right, great. We've got some time left for the thinking out loud proper, right?
Yeah.
Because this is how it all started. We have been straying from this path a little bit.
Because we like blabbing.
But because we like
nobody's
blabbing,
in charge, apparently, here.
Yes.
It used to be
exactly.
me.
Used to be you, yeah, the
So
police,
it's my fault.
and yes, it's your fault, 100%.
Okay.
Let's, Masha, do you have any interesting question that we could also put into the title of this beautiful episode?
I think I do, but it's not formed nicely. I mean, you'll have to work on it.
I'll have to work on it. Okay, good. But come on, this is how a conversation starts. You provide you have the firewood. You toss it into the fire, and we'll see. How long it's going to burn.
But you need a match. Okay,
Yes.
let's go.
All right. Fine. So, with that being said,
well, in that case,
you have to do the round one, Masha, because unfortunately I have to log in. I think it's going to take a long time. It also needs my fingerprint.
Okay, then
Wait.
round one.
Round one.
Okay.
Good. I was first.
A treat. So,
good.
It's actually something that's also very difficult to put your finger on. What do you think of cities having their unique, I don't know how to call it, soul, vibe, spirit? Do you think there is such a thing? I can explain how this question came about. I have many students who used to live in Kiev, but now they've moved, and occasionally, from time to time, they go back to, I don't know, get a cheap haircut, dental service, whatever, because apparently in Poland everything is so expensive. And they,
we say the same about France, so.
So from France you go to Poland.
Yes.
And because they used to be, I don't know what's the proper name, Kievans? People who live in Kiev.
The citizens.
What is the people
citizens
who work,
Kiev,
who live in Warsaw?
I say citizens of Warsaw.
Okay, citizens of Kiev, and they thought that they knew the vibe of the city. They understood the city, and now when they come back, well, a lot of people actually moved. But a lot of other people from, we call them temporarily misplaced, people who lost their homes or you just run away from, cities closer to the front line, they moved to Kiev. So now the population has changed. There are many people from other regions living in Kiev. And some people say that, when I walk through the city center, I can spot these people are not local. They're not from here. And it's a very different feeling. You don't feel this, whatever they call it, soul vibe of the city.
Atmosphere or
but the city hasn't changed. I mean, there's the same services, the architecture, nothing has changed. So what is it they are talking about?
Great question.
And they can't explain,
with
the words. They say, I just feel it.
Yeah. It's pretty much like teaching online. I mean, it's very hard to put your finger on it, but I would risk that thesis that yes, something like the atmosphere or soul of a city does exist.
Mm-hmm.
It does exist, and it's also true that it is not eternal. It
But
can
it's the
change,
people who
but it's the
create it.
people, yes, the people who have lived there for a long time and who are not there just passing by
Mm-hmm.
or just temporarily, I think. And it could be extended into a larger scale, like a country, right?
Yes,
I think.
probably.
And this is also something I read on my train back from Barcelona. There was an article about Barcelona being overcrowded by tourists, and all the visitors. And one of the arguments in the text was that Barcelona is losing its character, its soul. What this
Character is a
thing that
nice
you are
word.
talking about?
Character.
Yeah, character. It's no
Uh-huh.
longer Barcelona
Uh-huh.
because you no longer have. Why should that be so? It's another question. But you no longer have, for example, neighbors who are there all the time, but you have some Airbnb kind of guests, who are living around you. Imagine something like in France, it's quite popular to have this so-called fête des voisins. It is it's a festival of the neighbors. So at a given day
How cute.
in in the calendar, they stop the traffic in the street. The street is blocked, and they put out the tables,
Oh, it's all about food in
tablecloths.
France, of course, and they eat.
Oh, it's all
Yeah.
about food and but how else do you celebrate? Celebration is mostly around
I don't
food,
know,
right?
run a marathon, go on a bike ride.
Oh, yeah, right, good. But the point is that imagine this sort of an event with your neighbors when you have no neighbors or you have some random visitors entering your fête de voisins, your festival of neighbors. It's kind of like, what are you doing here? You're not even living here, and it feels strange, right? Because there are no bonds, I mean, strong, stable bonds between people. But on the other hand, that is also interesting, is that I don't think we have these bonds even in cities that, that are less, um, let's say, prone to the population change. That means in the cities that are, that have pretty stable
Yes,
population
you're
and
talking about
this.
something very local. Of course, your street, your building, maybe know these people. Usually you do. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the city in a bigger sense. The students of mine, when they talk about walks through the city center, it's like you don't know all these people, but somehow you feel that they are your people. They create this, and it's interesting that cities, because they have characters, they attract certain people. Like, I don't know, New York is a city that never sleeps. It's totally not my culture. I would not be attracted. I would not want to live there.
God damn it. Give me at least 2 hours of sleep. It's not a city for young parents,
Well, and this is, this American dream, working
Yeah, but you're
24/7.
right. You're right. Every city,
So,
but it's also, I think, part of the branding of cities. Cities also run certain marketing campaigns, and
well,
they
this
have
is
some
recent. This
slogans.
is very recent thing, this
This is
branding.
very
Let's
recent,
let's talk
but
about something that was
Mhm,
even before branding. That's how people,
mhm,
they say, okay, this is my city. I feel great there.
mhm,
This
mhm,
is not my
mhm.
city. So it's something about, and I wonder, how does it come to be? How does this character
This
appear?
is certainly, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is certainly something that is that has something to do with culture. And when we think about the character of the city, what we really mean is the culture. But what is this culture? It is people doing things in a certain way,
Mhm.
similar way.
Yeah.
I think. And if you think about, for example, Kiev or Warsaw, this is actually quite interesting to me with the case of capital cities, because capital cities
Yeah.
are
Yeah. Yeah.
always full of foreigners, full of visitors, full of tourists, and
But you
so on,
can
because
spot
they are.
them immediately
But you can
if you're the
spot them.
citizen of the city.
Yes, I think so. However, capital cities are also usually some sort of hubs, economic hubs, with lots of jobs, opportunities, blah blah blah. So they naturally attract people from other parts of the country, who quit their, local communities, and they go to the capital city to find
Yeah, but you
work,
can be
make
there
career.
just for work and hate the city. I know these examples.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of
So
course.
it means that the
They are dime a
character
dozen.
of this city doesn't actually, it's not a good match for you.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying.
Yes, you're right. But what is that character? It's some sort of because it's not purely pace of living, right? Like,
I don't know.
larger city has a different character because it's a large city, because it's, the pace of life is faster, the traffic, the number of interactions, the number of people everywhere, shops, cinemas,
But
bars.
even, okay, the recent example, something I just read about yesterday. I'm now preparing for the trip to Moldova, to the capital city of Moldova, for my, I need a new document. And the capital of Moldova is, in English, it's something like Chisinau, yeah, Chisinau. And I read a report, because I want to know, the logistics and everything. And the woman, she had the same problem as me, and she had to go to Chisinau and spend one night there. And she tells about her day, what she did, the hotel she booked and stuff like this. And one interesting detail, she says that in the evening, we decided, because her appointment with the embassy was the next day, and she said we had a free evening and we wanted to go for a walk. But it was something like 7 or 8. And she said that we didn't feel comfortable because the streets were so empty. And we just, not even comfortable. She used the word, we were a little bit scared of these, empty little streets. And we came back to the hotel. And I can't imagine in Kiev at 7 or 8, a place that would be empty. Despite the war, and right now,
But
even
that, but you think this is the result of
maybe that's the
of
culture.
this?
People don't just go for walks late in
Don't
the
go
evening.
out for drinks or what? I mean, yeah, for sure there is something like, for example, pub culture. There are cultures like, for example, in Czechia, that people like to go out and have a drink in the pub, which is not exactly the case of Poland. We prefer to buy beer and drink at home in front of TV. Yeah, watching a football game or something.
I'm told that in Greece, I have a student who lives in Greece, and by the way, it's Alona's mom. Hello. And from what I hear, it looks like, people spend a lot of time out, eating out, drinking out. This is how they, I don't know, socialize. They really like, they meet maybe not even for the drink, but for, having a conversation. They do it before work, they do it after work, they do it, during lunchtime. This, you see, this is this is culture.
This is culture. This speaking of Greece, this kind of mm, afternoon coffee, or there are places where people get together. They are actually, I'm speaking about these cafes and all these restaurants and these places. They create this fabric of the culture. I don't know what is how to call that, but for sure they play a huge role. Restaurants, bars, all the places where people get together, where people have a chance to get together, to speak with one another, to exchange, to to basically spend time together. These places are of fundamental importance. I think it's quite interesting. That the globalization of lifestyles, because it's not about globalization as such, like open borders and free flow of capital and people, but the globalization of lifestyles, meaning, for example, spending time with Netflix instead of going to the cinema, or consuming digital content instead of going out and so on. I had yesterday a nice conversation with Zuzan Piotrek, and we are preparing for the FCE or CAE. We don't know yet. These guys are really good. These guys are good, but they want to take an coverage exam, and there was one question, these silly questions from the speaking part. How did these things, there was like five ideas, changed over the past 70 years? Don't ask me why they ask about past 70 years, but okay. So let's like from
It means that your
1950s.
average student is something like 90. Average age of your students to be able to answer this question.
Yeah, exactly. But one of these ideas was dancing, and Zuza mentioned that dancing has changed a lot, and she claimed, again, not having perhaps the experience, but according to her, dancing has changed, and people used to dance more in the past, and they used to have the skill. Now, despite programs like Let's Dance or You Can Dance or whatever else, these kind of TV shows where promoting dancing and dance schools growing as a result of that, we don't really have the skill because we don't need it, because there's so many other ideas. So many other options we have during the evening, right? Not just going to the dancing. I think used to be like a primary thing. It's like spending time with your smartphone now. On social media.
It was basically Tinder of the past.
The Tinder of the past, yeah. Going out. So you had to learn to dance in order to impress someone, right? I'm speaking about guys, but girls the same.
Well,
right?
now you also learn to. You don't learn to dance. You go to nightclubs, but the expectations are very low of your dancing skills. You just need to twitch a little bit, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Perhaps it's also the case of music changing and so on. But what I wanted to say is that these places, they like discotheque or a club or
discotheque is such an old-fashioned word.
Yes,
discotheque.
But yeah,
my God.
But they also produced different interactions, relationships, and so on. I think there should be, in the light of what I'm saying, a general evaporation of atmosphere from everywhere. So cities become like airports. Airport is usually totally devoid of spirit, any kind of atmosphere. It's like of course, the airports are different in every city. Have a different architecture, usually designed by a famous architect. It's like an airport, and it looks great, especially the modern ones, not the one in Marseille. but they are totally sterile. It's like you don't know if you land in the Philippines or if you land in Paris, or if you land in Taipei. It's basically the same sterile kind of area, with
okay, but how would I know? If
shops.
if I closed my eyes and then got transported into the center of Paris, of course I would know where I am because I know the architecture.
Well, they're historic. Yeah, of course, there are landmarks, places that immediately make you realize where you are. But I think that architecture will be hard, of course, to replace or change. But the other thing, this atmosphere, it's not exactly coming from the buildings. Look at Barcelona and this, Gaudi's buildings, fantastic houses designed by him.
But
They
what would you say
mean
is the
nothing.
character of what is Paris' character?
I think Paris, is too big right now to have any character. I mean, I was there and, of course, just, passing by, almost like spending a weekend there. And I cannot say that I felt the character of Paris. Everything's
You can only feel it if you live there
for the
for some time,
tourists
yeah?
right now. Like, even if you don't know, if, of course, not being a native, Paris native, because if you are a Paris native, maybe you visit, specific cafes, specific places that only the locals visit, or I don't know. But everything's like, everything's made for the tourists. It's like, you really need to know where to go and what to do in order to feel, I think, a bit more Parisian. You know, that is why you have to stay in some place for longer than just 1 week or one weekend. To get to know what it's like. Living there.
But then
But
being a
I don't know.
native of my city, Kiev, for example,
Mhm.
it would be hard for me to describe its character because, I mean, it's something I take for granted. It's like
Mhm.
water I drink.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, yes, for you,
Hmm.
especially for the insiders, it's very hard to define. However, you may feel that something's different, something's changing, right?
Well, that's what
You may,
some of my students tell
yeah,
me. And they say, I
yes.
can see that these people are not natives. And I ask,
Hmm.
how do you know? And it's very difficult to explain. Well, the way they are not so maybe relaxed, but this is how all tourists or newcomers feel, when the place is not familiar. I don't know.
Hmm.
Hmm. It's a very difficult
There
to.
is certain, there is. I'm coming back in my thoughts to Barcelona, because there is certain temporariness of the city. Because if you have a lot of people who visit just temporarily, like, especially tourists, so everything is also temporary. Some shops with souvenirs, they are everywhere, at each corner. I think this is also taking away, or covering, hiding the real spirit of the city, right? Because this temporariness, you just open the stand with souvenirs in the morning, you close it in the evening, and then you open it again in the morning, and it goes on like this. Mm, I think the city was showing its real character during the pandemic, paradoxically, when it was empty of the tourists. There were only the people who lived there, and which is bizarre, because it wasn't also a normal days, right? People were locked in their rooms, and
Mhm.
I don't know. It's quite interesting, but it's very, very, very something that everybody can, I think, um, feel that atmosphere of the city. Many people who go to Napoli, for example, say that the city is ugly. It's ugly. It's awful.
Or
There's
Venice,
garbage.
Venice,
Venice,
it's stinking.
but Venice is different, because Venice is overcrowded. Tourists and by tourists and so on. And Napoli, on the other side, I think it's less popular with tourists. But the city is specific, and I think for the natives who live there, maybe it has a totally different feeling, right?
Mhm.
I don't like, for example, these touristic meccas, like, big cities like Paris, Barcelona lately, of course, and so on. I think, yeah, you cannot really feel. And I was thinking the other day, where is the real spirit of the country? Is it in the capital city, which is the least, on the one hand, it's a symbol of the country. It is, a city which is probably most famous, most popular in a given country, except in the United States, I think, because Washington is not maybe, the number one city, and there are maybe some other countries like the Netherlands, for example, Amsterdam. I think it's the
Canada.
city number one. Canada, yeah, okay. So, but I want to say that capital cities generally are the symbols of a country, and at the same time, they are the least emblematic. Because it's not
Especially if you talk
how.
about Russia, for example.
Yeah,
My God,
yeah,
you think
exactly.
you go to
Yeah,
Moscow and
exactly.
you know what Russia is? Sorry, but
No,
no, like, no,
exactly,
you have no idea.
exactly.
Even worse, you're
And
misled, my friend.
yes, yeah, exactly. So that is a good question. Where is the soul of the country? It's probably not in the capital city. However, it's
I
interesting.
think you need to
Because
travel extensively in order to
ex-
understand the country.
yeah, but then again, every city has its own distinct character. With I think, and it's the people, simply the citizens. But it's just Masha, you asked me a really difficult question now, because I think it's the on the one hand, that if there is a city or a town, especially small town, because there is this concept of small town mentality, right? Something's wrong with small towns. I mean, people who live in the same place for generations, and there are not really many newcomers. And if there's a newcomer, everybody's like, "Whoa, who's that?" You know. I think this sort of an atmosphere also is stuffy, and it degenerates. I mean, it's not good to have a town whose population is the same, and there are no newcomers, like fresh blood bringing whatever, like, for example, this is what universities are doing to cities. They bring students, there are young people coming, and they, this is it creates a vibrant atmosphere and so on. But the towns that are this kind of small towns, basically, that where nothing's really happening, there are not really job opportunities, and so on, these, they stagnate and they degenerate in a way, I think. I remember I was once in Austria, in Villach, or Villach, I don't know how to pronounce this, and it's a small town in the mountains, close to the border with Slovenia, I think. And we stayed in an Airbnb, and we spoke with the hosts. And when we said, this is a beautiful, beautiful little town, in the Alps, and they said, oh no, it's not, because the atmosphere is so stuffy, the people are so hostile to all sorts of foreigners, who are coming. And moreover, there are, for example, some events where there's a bar or a pub where the locals get, and they sing their Austrian songs. They drink beer. They have their own kind of
Bubble,
closed meetings. Yeah,
close knit community.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And they don't allow foreigners or strangers inside, and you feel always like you are being a foreign body, in this organism. And they say it doesn't feel good, because they, both of them. I mean, because she was an Austrian and he was from the UK, and he said that, and she was also, I think she traveled a little bit around the world, and then she came back to her hometown. But she said that it's unbearable, this atmosphere, because people are totally hermetic, and and living there is, I mean, the town is beautiful, but living there is not so nice.
Well, it's another extreme, you know. You are either like this hermetic, or you totally lose your identity. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what's
yeah.
happening to
Exactly. So
Barcelona
so
or
the
Germany.
key, yeah, exactly. So the key is to have a balance, to have the flow of people. You need them. Uh, this is what I heard from Warsaw. That Warsaw grew a lot after the let's say second invasion, or I don't want to say the war broke out, because the war broke out a long time ago, but Warsaw gained a lot of new citizens from Ukraine, from Belarus, because don't forget that there are lots of people from Belarus who escaped from the country after the repressions and so on. And I heard that Warsaw gained a lot of new fresh blood, and it galvanized the city. It made it more vibrant, more alive. But at the same time, and the city didn't lose its character. It was like, we have new fresh blood. It feels great, but we don't lose our identity. This is this is a very thin line between that,
Mhm.
between having fresh blood that galvanizes the city. Everything's more vibrant, and allowing a lot of people, like Barcelona is doing, and other places that are the tourist destinations. And I think they lose their character, basically. They really suffer from that, because this is too much, and yeah.
But this
But
village you were talking about, it has a very
mhm.
distinct character.
You mean
Right?
Villach?
Well, whatever its name, I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, very distinct. It doesn't look like that. I mean, there is something different, Masha, because it's different when you have the distinct character. Even if you look at individuals, you have a person who is really, really weird, or strange, but that person can at the same time be very welcoming, very, nice, and so on. And you can have also a weirdo who's, I
So
don't know,
cities
very
are like
hard.
people.
Cities are like people, I think. Yes, they have
Mm.
their character, they have their soul, and yeah, sometimes they are nice, sometimes they are less nice,
I think
depending.
this is probably how, I'm not a historian, of course, or sociologist, but this is how the the sense of identity has developed over time. First, you're you, and then you understand that you belong to this little community. Then you are identify yourself with this, city. This is my city.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
Mm-hmm.
understand this is my country.
Yeah.
And I think the next step,
Until
which
you
is very
become
important, that
a
we
global
feel that,
citizen.
yeah, we must. I think we're still having trouble with that.
There is also in between. There's also this kind of continental. We are Europeans. There's this, but this is a vague concept, and of course, the larger the scale gets, the more vague it is. I mean, what does it mean to be a Pole? What does it mean to be a European
But I'm talking
and a
more
world
about,
citizen?
taking care of, because once you understand that this is your territory, I see it very well comparing to, I didn't get a lot of Soviet Union. I was very little, but you had everything is everybody's, and it means that
Mm-hmm.
it's it doesn't belong to anybody in the end. And if you don't feel that it's yours, you don't care what will happen to it. Like for example, take a block of flats. Inside the flat, there maybe everything will be very, very well kept and beautiful, but look at common areas and they will be in neglected. And
Mm-hmm.
because the people
Yeah.
don't feel that this is my building, it's only my flat.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
same, I
Yeah. Yeah.
think we need to start understanding about the planet. This is our territory. Because for now, yeah, planet is something, okay, this is nice planet what I'm living
But
on,
it's
but
very hard to be this sort
yeah,
of to reach this sort of consciousness.
yeah.
This kind of embracing
But if
everything.
we don't, then we are heading towards.
But I think
Okay,
there's a synergy.
let's not
Maybe
open
if you care
another
about
Pandora box.
if you care about your local community, then you also take care of the global thing.
No, I don't
somehow,
think the people from your village think like that.
You're right. Yeah, because there is a lot of xenophobia and so on, and we are better than others, and we can dump our trash in their land, But you're right. You're right. Well, anyway, Masha, it's time to wrap up. Time to perhaps say bye for this week. And that was the 99th episode of the Thinking Out Loud. You know what that means.
Yeah. So it's time to say bye. Bye, everyone. This was another. Well, maybe somebody will notice and say, why did you stop saying the phrase? Because, Jesus, people, just say something.
All right.
Okay. Sorry, I lost it. That was another. You can cut it if you want. This was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks a lot for the conversation, Masha.
Thanks a lot for your for your brain, being here and not somewhere else.
All right. Thanks. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, stay tuned for the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.